Hi guys, today we are going to be moving on to our vocab for chapter 3. So for this assignment, you will start to turn in your vocab to me. So you're going to take the terms and you can make this into your own words so you don't actually have to copy and paste the definitions just as you see them. I tried to make them as simple as I could and I tried to make them easy for you to understand, but if there's a different way that you think would makes more sense to you, please use that instead. You'll be making just a regular Google Doc of the terms, and then you will be turning that into me in the following assignment. Alrighty, so the first term is organic compound. So in your Google Doc, you would want to type out organic compound and then put a dash. This is a compound that contains carbon. Now, if you want to just say contains carbon, you could do that. So you could cut out some words to make it a little more simple for yourself. Organic compound is going to contain carbon. Here's a couple examples of what organic compounds look like if we write them out chemically. And I spent a lot of time in organic chemistry in both high school and in college. And we went all through writing and drawing out all these different types of structures and naming them. Luckily, you guys won't have to worry about doing that in my class. All you're going to know is that this here is a chain and this here is going to be a ring. We'll get more into the bonding structures of that in a little bit. A monomer is a small, simple molecule. You want to think of a monomer like one individual piece of a puzzle. A polymer is made up of many monomers. So this would be like maybe 5 or 6 puzzle pieces all linked together. Or if you have a necklace that's made out of beads, it would be a bunch of beads all strung together. The prefix poly actually means many, and the little ending there, mer, is just a shortened version of monomer. So it technically means many monomers. Macromolecule. This is going to be a large polymers that are either carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, or nucleic acids. There are 4 types of macromolecules, and they are all written out right there for you. If you notice, the prefix macro means big or huge. It's the opposite of micro. So it just means huge molecule. We're going to talk about each one of those macromolecules when we get to our notes. But you might have heard of carbohydrates and definitely proteins. Those are things that you eat. Lipids are fats. Those are also things that you eat. Nucleic acids, on the other hand, those are going to be a part of your DNA. So I'll give you an extra second there just in case you need to finish writing anything down. And in case you're wondering why you can no longer see me in my videos, it's because the computer that I have at work does not have a camera on it. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see me. I have to look into getting some type of a webcam and see how that gets all set up. But eventually I will get there. Alrighty, I'm going to move on then. Condensation reaction. This is when a monomer is going to be linked together to form a polymer. So if you put 3 or 4 monomers together, you end up with a polymer. And water is going to be made from this type of a reaction. And we have a little activity that we'll do on condensation reactions later on. Feel free to pause the video at any time if you need a little extra time at writing things down. This is what a condensation reaction looks like chemically. So you have a monomer here, and these are all separate monomers. Water is going to be given off in this reaction. Think about the word condensation. If you are driving around, maybe it's really early in the morning, you go outside, there's normally condensation on your windshield. Or if you have a really cold glass of water, you're sitting outside, the water starts to sweat a little bit, that glass, you have condensation dripping off of it. So condensation means that water is given off. So whenever these 2 monomers combine, they're combining right here. And in order for that to happen, this if you notice over here, this O is the only thing that's left. So they are linked together by an oxygen, and this OH and H are going to form water. H2O is the chemical formula for water. Hydrolysis is the opposite of condensation. This is going to be the breakdown of polymers to form monomers. And when we have hydrolysis, water is going to be used. So lysis means breaking apart, and hydro means water. So literally, you are using water to break something. Chemically, this is what it looks like. We start off with our polymer. So we have two guys here. They are connected by this oxygen. We are going to add water to this polymer. And in doing so, we are going to split that bond. So this O is going to be pushed off to one side, and it's going to be combined with an H. And here, we're going to have an OH come in. You have to have something there for that bond. It can't just be linked to nothing. Otherwise, it wouldn't break. Adenosine triphosphate, you can call this ATP. It is the molecule that is used for energy. You've probably heard in the past ATP means energy. So you could just think of it like that. ATP, energy. Done. Carbohydrate. This is going to be short-term energy, and it is made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. The ratio for carbohydrates is very important. It is a 1 to 2 to 1, so that means you have 1 carbon, 2 hydrogens, and 1 oxygen. You really need to know the ratio for that because we have another macromolecule that is made of the exact same atoms. So whenever you're writing this one out in your notes, there really isn't a way to shorten it. You need everything that's in there. Here's an example of some carbohydrates. These are going to be your breads, pastas, also vegetables and fruits. Those are your sugars. Carbohydrates are actually sugars. So it's not, whenever you hear of athletes saying that they are carb loading, normally before a big game or before a workout, sometimes they'll carb load, and that's to make sure they have enough energy. It's not just eating breads, it is also eating those sugars from fruits. A monosaccharide is the monomer of a carbohydrate. And here are a few examples of monosaccharides. It's a really long word for a kind of simple term. Examples are glucose, fructose, and galactose, and those are all different sugars that you can find within different foods that you eat. You don't need to write down those monomers, just focus on the word and then the definition. The prefix mono means one, so that might help you to remember that a monosaccharide is just a monomer. It's one carb, one piece of a carb. Protein, these are the building blocks for living things. And when we do our notes, I'll tell you all about what type of elements and atoms are in proteins. There's more than just 3. It's made of carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. We call it CHON. There is an extra one in there, but again, when we get to the notes, I'll go over in detail what's going on with the proteins. And this is what they would look like in picture form. It's going to be your eggs, nuts, chicken, any kind of red meat. Fish is also a protein. An amino acid is going to be the monomer of a protein. So monosaccharides go to carbs, amino acids go to proteins, and chemically this is what a protein would look like. If you ever take organic chemistry, you'll spend a lot of time with little beads and bonds, and you'll make structures that look just like that. There are about 20 different amino acids. You don't really need to worry about these right now, but once we get to, what is it, chapter 9 or 10, you will become very well versed with these amino acids. You'll be decoding DNA. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a little tedious, but it's fun. Lipids are long-term energy, and they are also made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, CHO. Same exact ones that are in carbohydrates, but the ratio is way off here. So off that I don't even include it. It's not 1 to 2 to 1. It's a lot. And it varies greatly. Your lipids are going to be any type of fatty things, a lot of fried foods, donuts, your cakes, pies. A phospholipid is a lipid that makes up the cell membrane. So this is not the monomer of a lipid, this is just one type of a lipid. So all of your cells are made up of lipids. And this is what a phospholipid actually looks like. It has a phosphorus head here at the top and a fatty acid chain for the tail. That's what we call it, a phospholipid. We take the beginning of phosphorus here and we add it into what a lipid is. So phospholipid, meaning that we have added a phosphorus. Nucleic acids, these are molecules that store and transfer important information in the cell. I know this definition is a little bit longer than some of the others. Deoxyribonucleic acid, that is the long written out version of DNA, which you're probably very familiar with. DNA is a nucleic acid that contains information that determines the characteristics of an organism and directs its cell activities. And here's what DNA looks like in comparison to RNA. We're going to be spending a lot of time looking at DNA. Like I said, you will learn how to decode DNA. And that is the last term. So this is where that game starts up to review those vocab terms. And you will have a vocab quiz on these words. I'm looking at probably next Tuesday. I'm thinking we're going to do this. So start reviewing those for then. I'm not going to go through this whole game now. I will post one for you when we go over for the quiz. Alrighty guys, take care and have a good one.